Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach, and today I'm going to be giving my predictions for WrestleMania 41. WrestleMania 41 takes place this weekend, Saturday, April 19th, and Sunday, April 20th, in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm gonna start with my predictions for night one. There are no official order for what I've seen for when matches are going to take place. The only match that I know that have a place on the card is in a set place is the main events. But I'm going to start off giving predictions for the match that I think will go on first on night one, and that is the World Heavyweight Championship match between the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther taking on main event Jey Uso. So how did we get to how this match is happening? Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble back in beginning of February and announced that he wanted to face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. They had started off with very much a slow build where there wasn't really too much going on between them in the build up to WrestleMania until a couple of weeks ago when Jimmy Uso had a match with Gunther on Raw, and after that match, Gunther destroyed Jimmy Uso, handcuffed Jey Uso to the turnbuckle, and made him watch as he choked out Jimmy and rubbed his blood all over his body. So there is some, very big animosity going into this matchup. Gunther really raised the stakes by doing that to Jimmy. Now, as for who I think is going to win this matchup, I think the winner of this match will be Jey Uso, yeet, and he will be the new World Heavyweight Champion. I think this is Jey's time. He's lost, I think, 3 matches in a row. The past 3 one-on-one matches he's had with Gunther. Gunther's World Heavyweight title reign hasn't been too spectacular, especially compared to his IC title reign, which ended last year at WrestleMania. So I think that Jey Uso gets the win here, and hopefully that allows Gunther to go be a world beater in wanting to get back that title and go back to him being the ring general and just decimating opponents instead of going out and kind of looking silly, because in his past feuds he kind of looked silly against Damian Priest. He's looked a little bit more like ring general-esque, beating up Jimmy Uso and rubbing his blood all over him. But I do think that Jey Uso gets the win here, becomes the new World Heavyweight Champion, and hopefully allows Gunther to go on and go back to being that world beater that he used to be. Another match you have is the World Tag Team Championship match as the War Raiders defend against the New Day. This is a match that they tried to have a couple weeks ago on Raw, and it ended in a disqualification after the New Day brought a chair into the ring, and then the War Raiders used the chair. The ref saw it, they disqualified them, and the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, tried to use the chair to break Eric of the War Raiders' neck. So there's a little bit of animosity between them. Got this match at WrestleMania. I do think that the New Day win this match and become the new World Tag Team Champions on Raw. The Raw Tag Team division especially has been kind of lackluster, and the belts haven't really been defended that much. I hope, hopefully if the New Day win this, we have, heel New Day champions who, the New Day had a very awesome heel turn, and since then have really not done much. But hopefully they can, win this match and get the titles and have just a really exciting, heel tag team championship run. I do think that they will find a way to cheat and win this match, so it makes the War Raiders look a little bit better. But I do think the New Day come out of here with the win. You also have the United States Championship match as L.A. Knight takes on the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu. This match is happening because Jacob Fatu won a number 1 contenders tournament for the U.S. Championship. I think Jacob Fatu wins this match, and I think he should win it in very dominant fashion to show off how much of an absolute monster he can be, and just allow him to show what a monster heel that he is. And he is a Samoan werewolf. He's shown it back in end of January when he decimated Braun Strowman. I think that Jacob Fatu should go out and decimate LA Knight, leave no doubt as to who the winner should be, and Jacob Fatu walks out of Mania as your new U.S. champion. You also have Jade Cargill taking on Naomi. This match is coming about because a few months ago it was discovered that Jade Cargill was attacked in a parking lot and put through the windshield of a car. There's all kinds of speculation as to who could have done it. It was thought that maybe it was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And then Jade Cargill returned from her absence or injury at Elimination Chamber and attacked Naomi in the chamber, revealing that Naomi was the one that attacked her. Their bad blood has very much boiled over, and now they're having a one-on-one match at Mania. I think that Jade Cargill gets the win here. Jade Cargill is somebody that should kind of be booked as a more dominant wrestler. She's had a bit of an undefeated streak when she first got to WWE. Didn't suffer her real first loss until taking on Nia Jax. So I do think that she should go out and get the victory, or will get the victory over Naomi. Next up, you have Rey Mysterio taking on El Grande Americano. This match is taking place because El Grande Americano, who is definitely absolutely not Chad Gable in any way, they just look very similar, and Chad Gable just happens to not be there whenever El Grande Americano is there, and El Grande Americano is hanging out with Alpha Academy. Just complete coincidence. But this is basically taking place because Rey Mysterio is sick of El Grande Americano making a mockery of the Lucha tradition, and El Grande Americano has kind of got some wins over members of the LWO recently and cheated to beat them. He's been putting a couple weeks ago in a 6-man tag team match between El Grande Americano and Alpha Academy versus the LWO. He put a piece of metal in his mask and delivered a headbutt to one of the LWO members to get the win. So Rey Mysterio is sick of it. He wants a match with him at Mania. I do think that Rey Mysterio gets the win here. I also think that Alpha Academy and the LWO will find ways to get involved in this match, and maybe they do something similar like they did last year at WrestleMania in Philly when they had Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson come out and help the LWO and hoist Rey Mysterio up on the shoulders. Since they are in Vegas, maybe they have somebody like Max Crosby come out for the defensive lineman for the Raiders, and he helps Rey Mysterio in getting the win, and they unmask El Grande Americano to reveal that maybe it's Chad Gable under that mask. Who knows? But I do think that Rey Mysterio gets the win here. You also have the WWE Women's Championship match as Tiffany Stratton defends against Charlotte Flair. This match is coming about because Charlotte Flair won the Women's Royal Rumble. This is another match that has kind of had a very lackluster build to it until a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown, when these two kind of had a little bit of an off-script promo battle, throwing pretty good barbs at each other. This is one that is kind of tough to pick because Charlotte Flair is Charlotte Flair, and she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time in her mind. But I do think that Tiffany Stratton gets the win and retains her title over Charlotte, because Charlotte doesn't need this win. Charlotte is a 15-time women's world champion. She doesn't need that 16th. She doesn't need that many. Tiffany Stratton is still young. She could really use this, big boost of a win at WrestleMania. So I'm going to have some wishful thinking here, and I think Tiffany Stratton gets the victory. Finally, your main event for night one, you have CM Punk, who's getting his very first WrestleMania main event of his career, taking on Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in a triple threat match. And in CM Punk's corner, he will have Paul Heyman, because as a result of CM Punk being part of the OG Bloodline team at War Games back in November, Paul Heyman owed him a favor, and the favor was CM Punk wants Paul Heyman in his corner for this matchup. Now, as for who I think who wins, I think CM Punk gets the victory. I think that because of the amount of hatred that each person has in this match for each other, mainly Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns has an intense hatred for Seth Rollins for what he did 10 years ago, breaking up the Shield. Seth Rollins has an intense hatred for CM Punk. He's hated him for years. And I think that Seth Rollins' hatred for CM Punk will cost him in this match, where he could maybe have a chance to beat Roman Reigns, but instead decides to go after Punk and not capitalize on being able to beat Roman. And Roman Reigns, who has never beat Seth Rollins, I think will be overly thinking about Seth and over obsessed with Seth Rollins. And if he has a shot to take out Punk or Rollins, will choose Rollins, and that will allow CM Punk to kind of get an opening and get the victory. Now, moving on to night 2 of WrestleMania 41. Again, don't know the exact order. There's only one match that I know of that is in a particular order, and that is the main event. But the match that I think kicks off night 1 is your triple threat match for the Women's World Championship, as Io Sky defends against Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. This match come in part because Bianca Belair won the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which gave her a Women's World Title match. Women's World Title match at WrestleMania. The day after the Chamber, Io Sky beat Rhea Ripley for that title. And since then, Rhea Ripley has been trying to get involved in this match, including a contract signing, beating up both Bianca and Io and signing her name on the contract. And it ultimately has led to this triple threat match here. I'm actually going to pick Io Sky to retain in this match. She's probably the least likely, the least thought of person that could win this. Bianca Belair has never lost at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley has all kinds of momentum. She's Rhea Bloody Ripley. She's one of the best women's wrestlers in the company. But Rhea has never beaten Io Sky. Now, could this be, a Mania moment of Rhea finally beats Io? It could be, but I think that because Rhea and Bianca will be so focused on each other, and much like she has been for most of this build, Io is kind of an afterthought. I think she comes in and finds a way to get the victory and retain her Women's World Championship. You also have the Women's Tag Team Championship match, as Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defend against the team of Lyra Valkyria, and Bayley. This match is basically came apart because Lyra and Bayley won a tournament to be number 1 contenders for the Women's Tag Team Championships. It's 2 single stars going up against an actual established tag team in Liv Morgan and Raquel. And for that big reason, I think Liv and Raquel will win this match and retain their titles, as they are the established team. I do think they might find a Healy way to do it, or Raquel could kind of take out Bayley or Lyra, and then the other person is distracted. Liv can hit him with Oblivion out of nowhere and pick up the victory. You also have a fatal 4-way match for the Intercontinental Championship, as Braun Breaker defends against Penta, Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor. I'm excited for this match. I love Braun Breaker. I love seeing him just go spear people in half. His spear a few weeks ago on Carlito, where he flew through the air and almost did a complete front flip and landed on his feet, was awesome. So I do think that Braun Breaker, goes and destroys people. However, I think Dominic Mysterio gets a sneaky win here and wins the IC title. I really just want to see Dominic with the title, but how I think he does it is I think Braun takes Dominic out of the match kind of early, and he becomes forgotten about as Braun takes on Penta and focuses more on Penta and Finn Balor. Then late in the match, I think Braun will take out Penta and just decimate Finn Balor with a spear. That's Dom's opening. He pulls Braun out of the ring, just gets him far enough away that Dom can come in and steal the pin and we have a new IC champion in Dominic Mysterio. Next up, you also have AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. This match came about because weeks ago, AJ Styles was supposed to face Logan Paul on Raw. Logan Paul said he won't wrestle on TV. He only does pay-per-views. He's big money. So essentially, that leads to this WrestleMania match. You have Karrion Kross in AJ Styles' ear, trying to get AJ Styles to kind of go to the dark side and be more aggressive in his matches. So I actually do think that AJ Styles wins this match, mostly because I just really want to see AJ win. But realistically, I do think that he could win this matchup, as he is, the full-time wrestler. I just don't want to see Logan Paul win. I just can't predict him to win. I don't want to see it. So I think AJ Styles gets the victory here. Also have a Sin City street fight as Damian Priest takes on Drew McIntyre. This match has been building kind of since the Royal Rumble. Damian Priest eliminated Drew McIntyre. He also eliminated him in the Elimination Chamber. These two have been at each other's throats for months. Damian Priest actually kind of messed up Drew McIntyre's eye for a little bit. He got glass from a car, supposedly, in his eye. He was wearing an eye patch, and he came out on Raw and really had a secret, and that was his eye's perfectly fine. So in this match, I do think that Drew McIntyre wins it. These two are both very, very good competitors. This one could really go either way, but I do think that Drew McIntyre beats Damian Priest. Actually, this goes back all the way to last year's WrestleMania, where Damian Priest cashed in Money in the Bank on Drew McIntyre to take the World Heavyweight Championship from him. So I think all that pent-up aggression for the past year, Drew McIntyre finally gets to take it out on Damian Priest, and he gets the victory here. Now, on to something that's not a confirmed match, not really talked about. A potential match that I could see on the card that I think could happen. So Randy Orton does not have an opponent for WrestleMania as of the time I'm recording this video, because unfortunately, due to a very real neck injury, Kevin Owens is not able to compete, and Kevin Owens could be out of action for about a year. So for a speedy recovery for him, real quick. But so because he does not have an opponent, I think Randy Orton will continue to kind of egg on Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, for an opponent, even if it is Nick Aldis. He came out last week on SmackDown, or he RKO'd him a couple weeks ago. He came out last week on SmackDown and floated the idea of Nick Aldis, Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Told him to, take off the suit, put the tights back on. As Nick Aldis is a former NWA World Champion. He's never wrestled for the WWE, but he's well traveled. He was in TNA, obviously NWA. He's been around in the wrestling business. Randy Orton even bringing up Nick Aldis' real life wife of Mickie James to kind of egg him on. So I do think that if it's this Friday on SmackDown or at WrestleMania, Randy Orton comes out, he pries and he eggs on Nick Aldis. He finally does and says something that makes Aldis agree. We get Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And if this were to happen, I think Randy Orton would get the win. I think this would be a very good match. I know Aldis hasn't wrestled in a few years since he's been with the WWE, but he looks like he's still in very good shape. Randy Orton, obviously a very good wrestler. I think they could just have a very good kind of change of pace matchup to what other matches could be on this card. Kind of an old school style match between Randy Orton and Nick Aldis. And if this were to happen, I do think that Randy Orton would get the victory. Now, it's time for your main event of night 2 as their WWE Championship match, as Cody Rhodes defends his championship against John Cena. How did we get here? John Cena won the Elimination Chamber match to get this opportunity at Elimination Chamber. He joined up, he turned heel, he joined up with The Rock. He sold his soul to The Rock. He beat up Cody Rhodes. He's come out and cut promos on the fans, talking about how fickle they are, but how it's their fault that John Cena has done this. He's not going to change anything for them. He's coming out and cutting just scathing promos on the fans. Him and Cody Rhodes got into a war of words a couple weeks ago, and Cody actually got the better of him and gave him a crossroads, laid him out. Because John Cena, as he gets older, it takes less and less to put John Cena away as he's gotten older. He does not look like the Super Cena of old anymore. With that being said, I think John Cena gets the victory, becomes a 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, because he is the greatest wrestler in the history of wrestling. John Cena gets the win. Maybe it's a dirty win. Maybe he has help from The Rock. I don't care. John Cena gets world title number 17. He takes the WWE Championship. Says that he lived up to what he was going to say. He is the final real world champion in this business. John Cena leaves WrestleMania as the new WWE champion. Let me know in the comments who you guys think are going to win. I'm very excited for WrestleMania. Let me know if you guys are really excited for WrestleMania. Again, let me know in the comments who you guys think are going to win. What matchups you're excited to see. I'm obviously very excited for the WWE Championship match. I am a huge John Cena fan. I've been a Cena fan for almost 20 years. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.